Thank you.
I'm here to represent a wider team actually at Milton Keynes Hospital, but it is my great pleasure to join you this evening, and I look forward to being able to support other events and things that you get up to in the future, hopefully. So thank you. So as we've said, my name's Fay. I'm a nurse. I'm a Macmillan Wellbeing nurse, actually, and I work at the Cancer Centre at Milton Keynes Hospital.
Yep.
So I'll just tell you a little bit about myself.
Absolutely.
I've done this job for 15 years. I think it's the longest job I've ever done, and that's because I like it. I love it, in fact. But before this job, I qualified way back in 97, and I became a chemotherapy nurse when I qualified. So I worked in cancer care straight away, and just fell in love with it, really, which might sound a bit strange, but it's meeting such brave people, I think, that makes me want to work in cancer care. It's just such a privilege to help look after people at such a difficult time in their lives. So that's all I've ever done. For 23 years.
Wow. So you say chemotherapy, that means you've only dealt with cancer for the past 15 years, cancer patients, cancer issues.
Yes.
Or that is it. So that's what you specialize in anyway, is that what you're saying?
Yes. I've only ever been in cancer care for 23 years.
Have you enjoyed it for the past 23 years?
I absolutely love it. And as I said, it sounds strange, doesn't it? Because people can be very poorly and we can have some really sad stories, but equally we meet lots of people who go through cancer treatment and do really well and are able to go on and live, either with cancer or beyond cancer, but in a really good way. So it's a privilege, really.
You look so young to have worked in the industry for 20
bless
years.
Your heart.
And beautiful as well.
It's hair dye.
No. Well, I didn't say anything about your hair, but to me, you look absolutely gorgeous. So
thank you. Thank you.
Don't worry, you're looking good. Oh, fantastic. There you go. Now, okay, I've got our host here, Mr. Bumi Akirimisi, our co-host, sorry.
Lovely.
Just joining us. Hello, Mr.
Hello. Hi, how are you?
Hi. Good, thanks. Are you?
Good afternoon. Sorry for joining in late. Just had to attend to an emergency or something.
Okay.
Sorry.
So nice to meet you, Mr. Bumi. I think there's something wrong with the picture.
There's something wrong with the picture?
If you take the background off, please.
Okay, all right.
Just leave it there. Fantastic. And then you can come back on. We're all having issues with internet today. What's going on?
Except for me.
Except you.
And usually it's always me.
No, you've done very well. We should go for you should pat your back and we should go and get a little thinking to make sure we've been doing this for so long, we should be having these issues. But hey, it's nice having you. So while Bumi is sorting his lab, his system, sorting it out, let's talk. So you said you've done this for 23 years.
Yes.
So throughout those 23 years, can you please tell me how vast do you think the Black community are aware of what to do, where to go, and how to get treated, or what is required of them when they find out that there's either they've found out they've been diagnosed with cancer, they find out there's some symptoms around them, but they don't know that it's related to cancer. How far do you think the community has reached out to the Black, or the NHS or this government has reached out to the Black community to inform them of this issue?
Well, we've always had people accessing our services from all different ethnic backgrounds. So we do see people from, Black and Indian populations, as well as Polish and Chinese, etc. So we do have people accessing our services, but the numbers are lower than people who are Caucasian would access our services, definitely. And it could be sort of due to cultural differences. We're not quite sure, but we do know that there is work to do to ensure that our services are made available to people no matter what their background. And we need to make sure that we do that in the best possible way, that suits those individual groups. So should I tell you a bit about what we have available at the Cancer Centre?
Yes, please.
Okay, lovely. Hi, Sue. Right. So at the Cancer Centre at Milton Keynes Hospital, we are very lucky to have moved into a brand new building only about a week before the very first lockdown. So it's a purpose-built cancer centre, and it's on the hospital site, but it's slightly separate to the main hospital. So thank God we moved in just before the first lockdown, because it meant that our cancer patients were automatically just kept perhaps a little bit safer by being in an enclosed separate building. So that was a real blessing. And within the Cancer Centre, we have it's called the Irene Croswell Macmillan Wellbeing Lounge. Now, it's a very long title, but let me tell you a bit more about it. So it's an area in the Cancer Centre which is given over to providing information and support to anyone affected by cancer. So, Antonia, you were just making reference to people who we call the worried well. So people that have symptoms which may be a sign of cancer, but they're not quite sure whether they are and what they should do about it. So if anyone has any signs of cancer, and I'll go through some of those signs and symptoms in a little while, they can come to see us and they can just talk about the symptoms, and we can guide them as to whether we think it may be an early cancer, and whether they should go to see their GP, and get checked out and then get a referral into the Cancer Centre. So we do see people with suspicious symptoms, and we are able to guide them as to what to do next.
Yeah, but I think, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think the key message there is, no matter what the symptom, if it's not normal for you, it's really important to come and speak to us about it, because if it is cancer, and of course it's not always cancer, but if it is, it's really important that it's caught as early as possible, because more can be done, obviously, if a cancer is identified early. So if anyone has symptoms which are not normal for them, however embarrassing that might be, because if you have, for example, bleeding when you go to the toilet, or something like that, or say, I'm going to be very, very blunt here, but say difficulty as a gentleman when having sexual relations, shall we say. These things are difficult to talk about, but they could be symptoms of a type of cancer. So it's really important that people come and see us as soon as they can, if they'd like some advice about what to do next. And quite often it's not cancer in any way, but it's always worth getting checked out early.
Absolutely.
Shall I carry on?
Yeah, I was just going to ask before you go ahead. Can you do me a favor again to list out, just type out the Irene Croswell Centre again, I believe it's Irene Cos.
Yes, it's in the chat. Do you want me to write it again?
Please, it's just gone off because my system went off briefly. So I can then share that.
No problem.
Hello, we've got Susan here, Susan Nelson. Hello, Susan, how are you? It's nice to have you here again today.
Thank you. I didn't think I was going to be able to come today. I was supposed to be out, but it's got cancelled. So I thought I could quickly jump in. So, yeah.
Oh, great to have you here. We've got Fay. Thanks to you, we've got Fay on the show today.
Hi, Sue.
Thank you. Hi.
Sue gave us a very good rundown of what the research project is that she's you're all working with Macmillan for our Black and for the ethnic minority in general for Milton Keynes. And it was very, very informative, wasn't it, Sue? You went through a lot of questions. However, what you are here for, Fay, she couldn't answer it. So she said, look, the best thing is to bring the professional in that could give us the information that we need. And here you are.
Yes, because I'm sort of doing the research Well, the conversation's more really, it is research, but it's more really, it's about conversations really, about what the barriers are, why people feel scared, why they feel they can't go forward, have a checkup and get the support that's there for them, and what Macmillan can do differently.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. I've put it in and I've pressed return, Antonia, but it's not going into the main chat for some reason, but it is there.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it is there. I can always send it on to you as well,
Okay.
another way, by email or something, but it's there.
That's fine. That's all right. So just before you go ahead, you did say you've got a list of symptoms that people can see and decide to come and see someone early. Apart from these two examples you've given, issues with issues with urinating. What's wrong with me? And then issues with having sexual intercourse. What other symptoms should we, because I know, like I mentioned the last time, you also mentioned a few, didn't you, Sue and Bumi? They've got cancer, stomach, is it bowel cancer, like the urination and all that we have to do with prostate cancer. We've got cervical cancer. The ones that you think are different symptoms specific to different ethnic group? If yes, give us a list.
Be. Okay. Yes, absolutely. I mean, the most common cancers in people of a Black ethnicity or Black origin are cancer of the cervix. Obviously, this is in ladies. Cancer of the cervix, breast cancer. Another common cancer in this group of people is prostate cancer, for gentlemen, obviously, and then also can be liver cancer, sarcoma, and lymphoma. So the cervix and breast, they are what we call solid tumour cancers, and the liver and prostate are as well. And then the lymphoma, that's a blood cancer, so that's slightly different. And sarcoma is cancer in like the soft tissues in the body. So they're not that different, to be honest, to the most common cancers across all different ethnicities. But the trouble with them is they do present with some sort of symptoms that can be difficult to report. And I think that's one of the barriers, actually, not just in the Black community, but across the board. It can be a real barrier, for people to report embarrassing symptoms and to, talk about it with somebody. So some of those symptoms then, which can be signs of an early cancer, if someone's experiencing very severe fatigue, really severe tiredness, that's something that definitely needs reporting to the GP, because that can be a symptom of any type of cancer, actually. Any weight loss or weight gain, which is, there's no reason for it. So you haven't been dieting, or you haven't been eating lots of cream cakes or whatever. You've just lost weight or gained weight unexpectedly. That can be a symptom of early cancer. If you've got no appetite, or you've got trouble swallowing, tummy pain, nausea and vomiting, those kind of symptoms, gastric type symptoms, they should be reported, definitely. Let's not forget, though, that sometimes you can have symptoms like this and it can just be, like a hiatus hernia or an ulcer in your tummy or something like that. So it doesn't automatically think it's not automatically cancer, but they are worth reporting to the GP. Any lumps or swelling or any thickening in the sort of breast area, in women and in men, because men can get breast cancer as well. So any thickening in the chest area, any unusual lumps or swelling in the armpits or in the groin, that should be reported. I can write all of this up for you, Antonia, and send it out to you as a flyer, if that would be helpful to send out to everybody.
Yes, please. That would be lovely.
No problem.
That would be fine.
Okay, and then any pain, obviously, if you suddenly have some pain somewhere and it's an unusual pain for you. Skin changes, particularly in ladies with breast cancer. Sometimes they find they get like the skin of an orange. It's like a little bit pimply. sometimes ladies with breast cancer can get this thing called peau d'orange, which is where the skin on the breast suddenly becomes like the skin on an orange. That should be reported. Anything unusual with the nipples, like a discharge, or the nipple starts to go inwards on the breast, that would be something unusual, obviously, that needs reporting to the GP. You see the adverts on TV, don't you, about if you've had a cough for more than 3 weeks and it's not COVID, that should be reported. And it's true that, you know, a persistent cough or hoarseness in the throat can be an early sign of lung cancer. And although lung cancer isn't one of the most common in the Black community, it's certainly one that people tend to present with it quite late on. So it's important, if you do have a persistent cough, to get seen by the GP as soon as you can. And because if it can be caught earlier, then it can be treated and it can be cured as well in some cases. Mouth changes. So if you experience any taste changes or excessive ulcers or any bleeding in the mouth, any pain in the mouth or swollen tongue, that kind of thing, that could be a problem. Fever or night sweats, headaches, changes in vision or hearing, they all can be symptoms. Any unusual bleeding from anywhere really in the body, or bruising that you can't explain, and changes in bowel and bladder habits. So it's a long list, and I don't want people to be too alarmed, because as I say, there could be very straightforward reasons for these problems, but the thing is, I would say don't sit on it. And I don't just mean the ones that are affecting your bottom, but don't sit on the symptoms, because the sooner that they are reported to a GP or someone like myself or the team I work in, the sooner that something can be done about them. And when you speak to a healthcare professional about any of these symptoms, none of them will be shocked. None of them will be embarrassed. We are all very used to, you know, talking to people about things to do with the body. So it's really important to swallow your pride and just go and get some help. That's what I would say.
Fantastic. The last time we had a discussion with Sue, we did say, like you just said about if they go to the GPs, nothing is new under the sun. They're used to it, and you can trust them and you can rely on them. So that's the problem, I think, some of our community, that's one of the barriers they're having, knowing who to trust, who to go to, how do they, I know you've sent through, did you just send through the details of the, okay, you're going to send that to me, for the venue again. Oh God, where have I, so yeah, they have the fear of who to trust, how are they sure if whoever they go to will not will really help them, you know? So how do we build that confidence in them? How do we reach out to them to let them know, like, look, yes, help is there, but this is how you go about it?
Yeah, I think it's about, do you mean, Antonia, do you mean right at the start when people try to ring their GP surgery and try to get an appointment? Is it at that point that there's issues? Before
they get the appointment, some people may be afraid, or they'll be embarrassed, you know, to go to someone and say, for instance, a man, let's use a man, for instance, for issues with prostate cancer, having issues with sexual intercourse, having issues with urinating. So most people are not comfortable talking about their sexuality, about their body in general. Such people, how do you get them to really come out to say this, they're having these issues? You know what I mean?
I mean, everyone's individual, and it's, I would say there are barriers across all different backgrounds in life. You know, people are from all different backgrounds, different countries, etc. And I think this barrier exists across the board, to be honest. And because we have, you know, men, for example, coming to see us, you know, white British men, for example, with prostate cancer, but they haven't wanted to talk to anyone about it because they're perhaps experiencing erectile dysfunction. And then when they come to see us, they realise that they wish they'd come earlier and spoken to us, because we're not, you know, we're not so scary. I mean, I think all I can say to you and to the community that we're talking to at the moment is cancer is something that can be addressed, it can be treated, you can live well with cancer, and you can also go into remission with cancer. But all of those really good outcomes only happen if you report it to somebody early on. So I suppose it's about looking at that balance of feeling embarrassed, feeling ashamed, feeling that your pride is affected, against potentially it being sorted out and becoming well again. You know, and I think that's all I can say really, without, you know, that we're not a scary service. We welcome everybody. We're a really inclusive team. I mean, the service I work in is called the Wellbeing team, and there's myself and another nurse. There's a physiotherapist, dietitians, there's a psychologist. So we look after people's physical health. We look at their diet and their nutrition. We look at their emotional and psychological well-being. So we basically have a service there for anybody that addresses them as a whole person. And I think that's really important. We don't just look at the bowel cancer or the prostate cancer or the cervical cancer. We look at them as a whole person. We consider their background, who their family is, and we can support the family as well as the actual person with the diagnosis. So I think that's important for the community to know, that we're not just looking at the disease, if you like, we're looking at them as a whole person.
All right.
And I think it's a nice concept, isn't it, to think that you will be treated as a whole person and not just as some kind of, you know, disease, really. We also provide information in our service, as well as catering for people's emotional needs. We provide information, and let me tell you, Antonia, we have information in so many different formats. If people find it difficult to either read or understand, or indeed speak English, we can actually access printed information in pretty much any language across the world, and this is thanks to Macmillan. Also, we can access a special cancer line where the patient can speak to a specialist nurse at Macmillan through an interpreter in pretty much, again, any language. That's how great Macmillan is. So if
there's language barrier, this can be crossed.
If there is a language barrier, it can be crossed. Absolutely, it can. We also have information that is especially prepared for people who find it difficult to read sort of standard English. So we've got some easy reading information booklets. We've also got information on video. Well, not, sorry, that shows how old I am. Not video, DVDs, CDs. And also we have information that can be listened to if people are blind. So and Braille, we have information in Braille, so we can literally reach anyone. People with learning difficulties, we have like information that's more pictures rather than words to help them understand. So we can literally reach anybody in the Black community, but across the board as well. I just can't encourage people enough, really, to access our services.
All right.
Okay, go ahead, Bumi. You have a question.
Yeah, I just want to find out something with respect to cancer. Like there's an experience that I've had years back, but I was not in UK then. Somebody was laying emphasis on the fact that cancer can be hereditary.
Yeah. In some cases, cancer can be hereditary. that's true. For example, in people that suffer from breast cancer, sometimes you can find that if you look back in their history, there can be mothers, grandmothers, aunts back in the family's history that have had breast cancer. And in that case, Bhumi, there's a special genetic testing that can be done. So if someone is concerned that a lot of people in their family have had breast cancer, they can actually go to their GP and be referred for genetic testing, which for us in Milton Keynes, it tends to be done at Oxford. And they like counsel you before they do the genetic testing, because obviously once you know you could end up with a hereditary cancer, that can be alarming, and they counsel you and show you how to deal with that news, but they can tell you if it's hereditary, and if it is, then usually you would be offered some really quite frequent screening, so that if you do end up with a hereditary cancer, it can be identified early on and dealt with quickly. And that's the same in about some bowel cancer patients. You can find that some families have a high incidence of bowel cancer. So they might have some polyps, for example, within the bowel that can sometimes change into cancer. And that's something that can be passed on. Sometimes there are links between prostate and breast cancer as well in families. So there's like across the sexes risk as well. So not all cancers are hereditary, but some of them are. So if it's in the family, there's a lot of people sort of back in the generations with a similar type of cancer, it's definitely worth having some genetic testing done so that it can be identified early.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Does it answer your question, Bhumi? Oh, can't you hear? Oh, something wrong with the volume. Bhumi? Hello?
Thank
Can you hear me?
Another thing.
Oh,
honestly.
Does that help you?
Yes. Hello.
Yes. Hi.
Very well.
Good.
Very well.
Good.
I mean, I think I said this last time when I was on, if it's okay to say it, about the hereditary thing, because my grandmother passed away of bowel cancer, and my mum had. You weren't here when I said this before, were you, Bhumi? You weren't.
He was there. Yeah, he was.
Oh, you were. Yeah.
The
thing about when it's something's
that you talked about your grandmother had.
So my grandmother had bowel cancer and she passed away from it, but she never went for checkups. Never went for a checkup. She passed away relatively young, and then my mum, had it twice, got completely better, and then I've already been for, the thing, the camera inside.
Yeah.
It was horrible. And I didn't want to do it, but because I had the change in my bowel movements,
you have to check.
It was irritable bowel syndrome. But I'm glad. And I don't get that anymore, really, hardly ever. But it's just being brave. It is being brave.
It is being brave. Actually, while we're sharing personal things, I don't mind sharing this at all, because I think it's really relevant, actually. So in January this year, I had severe diarrhea for about 7 weeks, but I wasn't ill. I was totally fine, but I literally could not keep hold of food. And I worked the whole time, because obviously we were in the middle of COVID still. And I was working on looking after patients who were coming in for bowel surgery for cancer. And I wasn't ill, so I wasn't putting anyone at risk about passing bugs on at all. I knew it was a problem, but I just didn't have time to sort it out. Anyway, I eventually went for some blood tests and some stool tests, but it did take me a while, because it's embarrassing, really. I mean, who wants to go and talk about poo?
Absolutely.
But I did, and so they did tests on me, and then the GP phoned me and she said that my blood test had come back showing that I'd probably got bowel cancer. I'd got a really high level of proctin, I think it was called, in my blood. So I suddenly went from being a cancer specialist nurse to a patient. I thought, I mean, actually it's a good outcome, but I kind of felt myself going through what my patients go through. So anyway, I got referred in very quickly to the hospital within 2 weeks. And that's what happens if you go to the GP with symptoms that could be a cancer, you get referred into the hospital within 2 weeks, which is really quick. And I had a colonoscopy, which is a tube up your bottom, which was absolutely mortifying, particularly as a man did it. But I just knew that if it was going to be cancer, I had to get it sorted as quickly as possible. So I had my long bloomers on, and they did this colonoscopy, and they showed me the pictures and everything. And it took about 2 weeks for the results after that. And it showed that I hadn't got cancer, but I had got ulcerative colitis, which, if you don't manage that properly, that can turn into cancer. So now I have got colitis, and it is a pain in the bum in more ways than one. But it does mean that I can make sure it's maintained and hopefully avoid getting bowel cancer in the future. So that's a really good example, although it's personal and it's on Facebook now, but never mind. I want to share it because it just shows that if you can get over the embarrassment of talking about bottoms and other personal things, you know, it can actually mean that you get an early diagnosis. And in my case, I've got a diagnosis, not cancer, but something that could become cancerous. And if I'd have just left it and left it and left it, I might have become very poorly with cancer. So, you know, I can't stress enough how important it is. Did you want me to talk a bit about cancer prevention?
Please, if you don't mind. Yes.
That'll be fine. That'll be very fine.
Yeah, okay, lovely. There are lots of things that we can do to help prevent us from getting cancer. The problem with cancer is that years and years ago, it used to be because, you know, there used to be specific reasons why people got cancer. So, for example, if you were a very, very, very heavy smoker, then in your sort of later years, you know, it was a given thing that you would perhaps get lung cancer. Or similarly, if you were a very heavy drinker, you know, you may end up with a liver cancer. But nowadays, it seems like cancer can crop up in people's lives without them really doing anything to bring it about. So, you know, you can live a very healthy life and still, unfortunately, develop a cancer. But we still say it's extremely important to still do all that we can to prevent it, because even if you've lived a really healthy life and you still get cancer, the fact that you've done that, the fact that you've looked after yourself and invested in your health, when you have cancer to go through and the treatment and the surgery or whatever it is that they need to do to get rid of it for you, if you've lived a good life, it's still a good thing, because it means that you're going to be able to get through all that you have to go through more easily. So it's really important that we talk about cancer prevention. Some of the main points are that are suggested in Macmillan's research, but also sort of generally in cancer research. Don't use tobacco. Now, in some sort of Black and ethnic minority groups, perhaps probably mainly in our Indian communities, maybe, certainly in Milton Keynes, there's a special type of tobacco that's used and chewed by gentlemen. So tobacco that's chewed, smoked in pipes, smoked in cigarettes, smoked in roll-ups, anyway, really, it is a no-no. Maintaining a healthy diet is really important. So meat or fish or meat alternatives, and plenty of fresh fruit and vegetables, plantain. My sister-in-law is actually from Uganda, and she's always cooking really, really fantastic foods. Really loads of fruit and vegetables, and she makes a lot of rice dishes. That's super healthy, and she uses a lot of spice in her cookery as well. Really, really, really super healthy foods. That's great. Keeping a healthy weight and being active, so not being too overweight and also exercising. Now, if that's difficult for some people, it's really good still just to exercise in your chair. So for our older community that we might be speaking to this evening, you know, to be able to sit in your chair and just do some gentle exercises, breathing, and just some very simple arm movements and leg movements. They're just as good as getting out there and having a jog. So whatever age you are, it's important to try and be as active as you can. Now, sun protection is really important. Obviously, in the Black community, you've got beautiful skin. Not that you get exposed to much sunshine in good old England, I know, much more rain here, but you've got beautiful pigmentation which protects you from the sun. However, it's still important to use a barrier because of the UV rays that the sun produces, and that still can cause a skin cancer, even on Black skin. I mean, my little niece, she's mixed race, obviously, and she always shows me her suntan that she can still get, even though she's got sort of golden brown skin, and her mummy always puts sun protection on her. It's really important because we do get exposed to a lot of UV rays from the sun, so I would say that's an important thing.
So are you saying, just my apologies before you go ahead, because when I go out, I tend to say, oh, I'm never going to get sunburn. I'm fine. My skin is just good for the sun, is meant for the sun. Susan, I'm sure you are listening, and Bumi, you know. But then you've got mixed race kids as well, Susan, haven't you, like myself? So when I take my kids out, I use it on the kids, but I don't use it on mine. Are you saying that irrespective of our race, we need to use a sun cream to protect ourselves?
So yeah, yes and no. For people like me, I need a factor 50, right? For people like yourself, Antonia, I would say you're right. Your skin is meant for the sun. You're absolutely right. But you still would need some protection from UV rays. So if you were to, like, say, for example, use a moisturizer just on your face, maybe a factor 20, something like that, that says on it, it protects you from UV rays, that would be great, and that would be fine. You know, with people who look like me, I'm practically transparent. I'd need a really high factor, but you still would need some protection. I mean, my sister-in-law she's very chocolate. She calls herself chocolate, and she calls her daughter and her son like a milkshake. And this is what she says to us. And she's from Uganda, as I said, and she always uses a UV protector on her skin because it's still, skin cancer still can crop up. But I don't want everyone to rush out there and buy the most expensive sun cream. You don't need to do that, especially if you've lived for 50 years and never used sun cream ever. You know, but the research suggests to use just a lowish factor of about 20 to protect you from the UV rays. In our Black community.
But sorry, excuse me. UV rays of a thing. Is this something that is prevalent in an environment like UK or more in the tropics?
Apparently, the UV rays are more of an issue in England, in Europe, than they are sort of in Africa and the continent of Africa. Apparently, I need to look up a bit.
Okay, because naturally, from the learnings, or let me say from the learnings that some of us got earlier on in life, we were told that definitely it is in the tropic environment that you have these high UV rays because it's warmer, it's hotter compared to compared to Western countries like US, Canada, UK, whereby the temperature is colder. Right now, are you saying based on research or recent report, UV rays is more severe in Western countries of Europe, America, and the rest?
The research suggests that there's a higher incidence of skin cancer, not in Europe and America, but not so much in the continents of Africa. or India,
Okay.
and places like that. Yeah.
Okay.
So sorry. So whether the UV rays as such are stronger or not in those countries, I have no idea. I'm just a nurse. I wouldn't know.
Okay.
I've had to look it up. But the
Okay.
actual incidence or the occurrence, if you like, of skin cancer is greater in Europe and America at the moment. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
Very interesting. Honestly, that's a very good information.
Yeah.
Because you know, we've always thought the opposite earlier on. You understand? Then also, just a quick follow up, or let me say, get a clearer understanding from what Tonya said, talking about the kind of skin that she has, or the kind of skin that I have. You understand?
Yeah.
The thinking, correct me if I'm wrong, is that we have a more appreciable skin to, let me say, to be cancer resistant compared to, compared to your race, let me speak. Yeah, compared to your race, so to speak.
Yes,
okay.
You do. You do.
I just want to confirm that element.
Yeah, that's why I get the factor 50 and you get the 20. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I wasn't quite so pasty, but we never see the sun,
do that.
Do we?
You're looking beautiful. We're all beautiful. That's why we're all created differently. Let's all appreciate ourselves. Please don't do that. Don't. We're all the same. You know what? Let's just concentrate a little bit on the skin and we'll leave it. That's why I'm going to use this venue also to please plead with her Black Afro-Caribbean women. I know there's some women out there that use bleaching cream to tend to tone their skin to become lighter. And I've realized that sometimes this cream tend to turn the skin into green pigmentation. Instead of it going brown, it goes green. And from then it leads into cancer. I don't know if you're aware of it.
I'm aware of the bleaching creams that can be used. Yes, I am aware of them. I didn't realize, I mean, it kind of makes sense, I guess, that if you're making your skin lighter, that then you become more like Bumi was just saying, your skin, it hasn't got that built-in resilience to the sun then, has it, if you're making it lighter? So that does make sense. Yeah.
So please, from what you've just said, please try and keep your skin the way it is. When I first came into England a few years ago, I'm someone that has bad habits. Don't judge me for it if you're out there. When I was a little child, Susan, I used to pick my face like that, pick and pick. So, but then when I became pregnant, it was a lot. So I went to a gynecologist and he told me, look, don't use any cream that's got alcohol in it. Make sure it doesn't have alcohol. Make sure it's simple, plain, natural cream. But you can't stop everybody from using cream that's got alcohol. Some people do it because of the problem I had. He recommended a particular cream for me. Since I use that cream, I use it for my face, I use it for my body, I use it for almost anything that I can use it for all my skin. It's helped me. You know, I don't have a lot of those outbursts and all that on my face again. So at times, if you need to take care of your skin just to maintain it, you don't have to lighten it. Just go to a professional, ask for the right cream to help the skin. By so doing, you prevent it from having these issues of cancer and having issues of changing. Because sometimes the skin is green and black, brown and white. You know, we've all got beautiful skin. So please take care of your skin as much as you can.
That's a really good message, Antonia. I mean, I keep quoting my sister-in-law, but she is a really good advocate for using really good moisturizers, and my little niece as well. She always, when she comes for sleepovers here, she always brings her moisturizer, and she makes sure that she keeps her skin nice and moisturized, because her skin and her mum's, they do tend to be on the dry side, so they keep them moisturized, you know, and her face as well with cocoa butter, things like that, and really nice natural products.
E45 is good as well.
Yeah, E45 is really good because alcohol has got a very it's an astringent, which means it can really dry the skin out and can make the skin quite brittle. So to use so how about getting a nice moisturizing UV protection? That would be good, because that would solve all the problems.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Do you want to say anything, Suzanne, before we move to the next? Do you want to say anything? Can you hear me? Or am I so quiet?
Yeah, I can hear you. I say as well, I don't know if Faye agrees with me. I know that I've heard, even like on a grey day, so even in the summer when you think, oh, it's really cloudy, sun rays can still get through. So you should really still be using UV protection, even on a day, even in the winter. Really, it's still coming through, even though it's not sunny. Is that right, Faye?
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. In fact, they say it's worse, don't they? The UV rays are worse. Or yes, I'm not very good at weather related things, but definitely when it's just a mild day or cloudy day, we can still get the UV rays. So yeah, it's still really important.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So have you got any other information for us there before
I was just looking at my list of cancer prevention.
Let's leave the skin.
Let's leave the skin behind. Few more things to do with cancer.
It's a fact, or it's a truth that
a few more things to do with cancer prevention. Now, there are certain vaccinations which can prevent people from getting cancer, and there's quite a new vaccination called HPV. You might have heard about that. It's offered in schools to young girls, and it's to help prevent them from getting cervical cancer. So, obviously that affects any community. That would be recommended as a way of preventing cervical cancer. And actually, cancer of the cervix is one of the more common cancers affecting the Black community. So if you've got teenage girls at school and they're offered the HPV vaccination, it would be a really, really beneficial thing for them to have in terms of cancer prevention later in life. Well, not actually, you can get cancer of the cervix when you're still quite a young woman. So yeah, that would be recommended. Also, there's some research around avoiding risky behaviour, and what they mean by that is having safe sex, basically, safe sex. And also, if somebody has a drug habit, not sharing needles, because sharing needles can lead to picking up hepatitis B or C, and those things in themselves can go on to become cancer. So safe sex and not sharing needles if you're a drug user is very important. The most important thing about cancer prevention is getting regular medical care. And I appreciate that that's difficult. You've said that in the Black community particularly, there are barriers regarding contacting the GP surgery. And I think that's probably been made worse during COVID, because it's difficult, isn't it, to ring up and try and tell a receptionist how you feel and what's going on before you can get a call back from the doctor, etc. But I can't stress, anymore really how important it is to do that. But it is difficult, there's no doubt about it, which is why people should come and see us at the Wellbeing Lounge at the Cancer Centre, because we can perhaps be another avenue that people can go down.
Sorry, I want to also ask something. For example, when you go for regular medical checkups, some do it once a year, some do it twice a year, and such things related to cancer be picked up.
Yes, exactly. That's so important. Even if you go for kind of like an MOT, if you like, the same thing you would do for your car, go for an MOT once a year. You're right there, Boomy. Yeah, things can be picked up. But also, obviously, if you have any of the unusual symptoms that I mentioned earlier tonight, that would be a reason to go for an extra visit to the GP. But yeah, once a year is perfectly adequate in order to pick up anything that's not going well with your health. I've just had a quick Google. I'm talking about skin again, but I've just had a quick Google, and it says here in front of me, people of all colours, including those with brown and black skin, get skin cancer. Even if you never sunburn, you can get skin cancer. So it's so interesting, isn't it? That just backs up what we were saying about and there's a cancer called melanoma, which is the Black community do have a lower incidence of it, but it is still there. So I think you might have been brought up to think that you don't need sun cream, but actually we are right in promoting that this evening. So I just wanted to kind of double check myself.
You're absolutely right, because most of us, when we're back home, we never use sun cream. So are you saying even back in Africa, we should use sun cream if we can?
It looks like it. It looks like it in the research. Yeah, who knew?
So we didn't know that. So because we go out, and maybe what we're thinking is because when you sweat back home, when the sun is on, when it's hot, you sweat a lot. Here we do sweat, but it's not that much. At times I think the body absorbs the sweat, I think here, but I don't know if you've been to Africa. By the time you go out and it's hot, you are like, it's like the water pouring down your body all over. So we think that that sweat protects the skin. That's what I think. So now you're making this obvious that irrespective of where you are, of what, irrespective of our color, we get it. So
yeah, there we go. We've learned something together this evening, haven't we? That's really good. Really good.
Okay.
And then also, there's something I want to also just quickly run by you, which, for example, in the Black community, that we are, or let me say, where we mix with many people, one of the things, apart from the issues that they experience, social issues, medical issues, there's a misconception which I wanted to clarify right now, that anything that has to do with cancer, most especially, it's basically for those that are financially comfortable. Let me say, people who have financial wherewithal, meaning that based on the things that they eat, places they visit, and all that. Can you throw a little bit of more light on that? Because there's an opinion or conception going on around that. Look, if I'm not really financially endowed,
I won't have cancer.
I don't think such things
will happen to me.
Right. So sorry, just to clarify. So there's a concept that if someone is financially well off, they won't get cancer, or they will.
They will.
They won't.
Cancer.
They won't. So the richer they are, they won't.
Okay.
Okay. Cancer affects anybody.
Everyone.
It has no hostages. So whether you are homeless or poor or stable financially, or whether you are quite well off or you are very rich, it can affect you.
That's it.
So that I would suggest is a incorrect conception.
Yeah.
So just if you are not very well off financially, you could still get cancer. Or if you are very, very, very rich, you could still get cancer. There is no difference. I mean, there is research to suggest that cancer can be more common in lower social economic classes, because if you are poorer, then it can be harder for you to afford to buy fruit and vegetables on a regular basis. Therefore, you're not having that healthy diet that we've already spoken about. Therefore, you could get cancer more commonly maybe than someone who is very rich and can afford fruit and vegetables, every single day. Saying that, in the sort of people that are very well off, it may be that they have lots of parties and they do lots of drinking. I'm not suggesting this happens, but it may do. They have parties, they might drink a lot, and equally could develop a cancer as a result of that sort of
lifestyle.
Poor health, poor lifestyle choice. So basically, Bumi, it can affect anybody despite their financial situation. But I'm glad you've mentioned that, because one of the services that we provide at the Wellbeing Lounge in Milton Keynes Hospital Cancer Centre is that we actually have a Macmillan Citizens Advice caseworker who works with us. During COVID, she's been doing that online, of course, and on the phone. But we have people that come to us with a cancer diagnosis, and they might be the breadwinner of the family, or they might already be struggling financially, and then they have to stop work because of their cancer or their treatment, or they can't work as much as they used to, etc. So we have a citizens advice caseworker that works with people, helps them to apply for benefits if they're entitled. We can also provide a Macmillan grant, which is a one-off payment from Macmillan to help towards, say, a wig or travel costs for treatment, or clothing if you've had changes in weight, or you have to buy new bras because you've had one of your breasts removed. There are several things that we can offer in that part of our service that can help people financially, so that they don't have to worry quite so much about money. And also people who are very sadly reaching the end of their life. Again, there are special benefits that we can help them to apply for, which can help to pay for things to make them more comfortable towards the end of their life. So people don't have to struggle as much as they perhaps think they would. I don't know whether that would be a barrier in the Black community, but if in any community really, if you're the main breadwinner, you're that mainstay for a family, and then you become ill, you might not want to address that illness to start with,
just so they can keep on providing.
Yeah, because you want to keep working, you want to, but then before you know it, you've left it too long, and then you're ill, and then you might pass away, and your family would be in a worse state. So although it's a difficult step to take, there are things that we can do to help financially so that you can have the relevant treatment or surgery that you need for your cancer, and that you can still provide for your family, albeit in a different way. But I think that's really key. There's a lot of pride there, isn't there, about admitting that you've got something wrong with you and you need help. But we can help to address those financial things as well as the physical and emotional stuff too.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very, very much. So we've
spent. So thank you very much. Sorry, Tonya. Meaning that, sorry, as we do a quick roundup, you're saying that there can be what I can call support for those who need cancer treatment.
Yeah. Or who has undergone cancer treatment.
Yes, yeah. We at the Cancer Centre, we provide information in all different ways, as I've said. And in all different languages. We provide emotional and psychological support to people who are worried about cancer, people with cancer and their families, and people who are living with and beyond cancer, and people who are sadly dying with cancer. We can provide help, information and support to people at any stage, basically. And we have, we can provide.
What about financial treatment?
That's what I was just saying with the citizens advice.
Advice Bureau.
Advisor. You can provide financial information and support. I tell you what else. Let me just quickly tell you before we go. We have a wellbeing support group, so we can meet together, and patients who have been diagnosed with cancer can talk to other patients with a similar diagnosis. We have a fantastic workshop that we run called Look Good, Feel Better, where we have workshops for women and for men. We've only just started them back, actually, but it's a 2-hour workshop for people affected by cancer. And we've started it off with ladies, so they come for 2 hours. They're given a makeup bag full of cosmetics and makeup and perfume worth up to about £200, and it's all free. And they sit there for 2 hours and they are guided by volunteer beauticians about how to apply cleanser, toner, moisturizer, how to apply makeup, how to draw in their eyebrows and eyelashes if they've come off because of chemotherapy. And we are able to provide these bags for very light skin, medium skin, dark skin, and very dark skin. And we're not just talking about, I have to be careful mentioning brands, don't I? We're not just talking about cheaper brand makeup. We are talking top of the range makeup. It's such a lovely workshop, and so that's available to ladies in our Black community as well as everyone else as well. Yeah, and it's such fun, such a lot of fun. And we have a patient choir. I've got 50 members in a patient choir that we run. And we run hope courses, which is a 6-week course to help people living with and beyond cancer. So again, all these things are accessible to our Black community as much as they are everybody else, and they are ways of us making sure that we treat people as whole people and not just as a bowel cancer patient, but somebody who's a whole being.
Great. So I'm just going to pick on your. Sorry, you want to say something? Sorry. Sorry, Bobby.
No.
Yeah. You're talking about you have a patient, cancer patient choir.
Yes.
Do they just perform for yourselves, or do they go out to perform to others?
Well, we've been meeting for 3 years. I mean, over the last year, we've been meeting on Microsoft Teams. It's not been easy because there's a delay, obviously. So at the moment, everyone has to mute themselves. I sing on screen with a backing track, and then they sing along with me, and they can only hear me. They can't hear each other. But when we can meet face to face again, it's brilliant. We meet for 2 hours once a month. We sing all types of songs. You don't have to be an expert to join the choir at all, because I lead it and I am really no expert with singing. my close friend Caroline plays the piano, and we basically meet because it's fun, it's joyful, and you know, it's a way of people being able to just forget what they're going through for a while.
So,
and we just sing for ourselves, but also we get invited to events and things. But I have to be careful with that, because obviously the choir is made up of people on chemotherapy or people living with cancer, and I am very protective over them. So we do get invited to events, but we have to be careful. We don't.
That's one of the reasons why I'm asking, because if they can perform, we could invite them to our Afro Diaspora Awards night. Speak to your team. Yes, because this is what you're advocating, isn't it? It's all about and then by the time they come out, there's going to be, you don't know who is going to be in the audience that will be encouraged to come out.
That's right. That's so true.
That would want to understand how come these people have undergone this, and they're here singing happily, joyfully.
And they're here to sing happily.
So I will speak with you about that after this show. I mean, maybe I'll send you a message. Let's discuss. Let them come in and encourage other people, please. That would be nice.
Yeah. So, we're not actually meeting face to face yet. We're not allowed yet because of the nature of COVID, etc. But we would love to attend an event like that at some point. That would be fantastic.
It's in October. I'll tell you the date. So even if it's not everyone, at least those that can attend would be nice. I will talk about it with you.
Okay. Thank you.
So we've talked about
that's a very beautiful suggestion, Sonia. Very beautiful one.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you for considering it, and I hope we can work together on that. We've talked about the prevention, we've talked about the symptoms, we've talked about the support, we've talked about all this lovely, who wouldn't want to go to a place whereby they would show you how to make up and give you these bags of goodies to take care of yourself? Who wouldn't want to go in and to get support on how to get benefits? Who wouldn't want to come to you when you've got this different workshops out there, travel costs? Come on, this one is going to give me travel costs. I'll be there. So this is where you've just nailed it in the head. These are the areas people are. If I'm the breadwinner, how can we talked about this, Susan? Remember, I'm the breadwinner. How can I live? Yeah. Oh, I'm sick, but I have to I have to take care of my children. But they don't. You said it. If you don't treat it, go on time. Your children, your wife is going to struggle. Your husband, your wife is going to struggle when anything fatal happens to you. Please go out there. People think they're afraid of travel costs. They're all the things you've just mentioned. They're all afraid of it. They don't know the support is there. Even though they know the support is there, they need the encouragement. That is why you're providing the psychological, the informative, the emotional, and all the well-being of the whole person. So please, if you are out there, your Black community, I know it's all about Black community. However, any community at all that's going to watch this video after today, the support is there for you from head to toe. Let me go very African. From head to toe, they will take care of you. Don't be afraid. don't run away. By doing the right thing, you're supporting your family, you are encouraging other people that are out there struggling, you are also making a better way for yourself and giving yourself the opportunity to live longer, you know, by speaking out. Faye, I've spoken to Susan, as we've been liaising with her for a while. We need to look for a way to, you are here with us, but we're going to attend. Susan, can you talk about your event? So my apologies, Faye, before I forget, your event in September. Can you quickly talk about that for us, please?
Yes, so it was originally September the 21st, but we've had to change it to September the 22nd, just because of the time slots available at the venue. So in the daytime, so I had to write it down so I remember. So from 10 till 12 in the morning, it's a face-to-face session for people to come together. They can network, and if Faye's not there, I'll be asking Faye if maybe she could, if there's a video or something that we could play, you know, or something. But it will be for people to get together and to build on what the things that we've already found out about what the barriers are, such like Bumi said, you know, people might mistakenly think that cancer won't get certain people, like if you're wealthy it won't come to you, and someone else said when they were growing up they only thought white people got cancer, they didn't realize that black people could get cancer, and the stigma. So it's building on all the things we've already talked about, so building on those conversations. So that's the 22nd of September, 10 till 12, face to face, and that's at the Parks Trust office at Campbell Park. And then in the evening, if people can't come or they don't wish to come face to face, we have the evening one, an evening online session, but that's just for an hour. The morning one is for 2 hours, the evening one online is for an hour, and that is from 7 till 8 in the evening. But it really, it's research, but it's really hopefully a free-flowing conversation. Yeah.
Do you have the links at all? Okay, I think I've got it. I'll send that out later. Don't let me.
Hopefully you have it, yeah. So
I
just
have it.
share it. And yeah, and the only thing, because it's an inside venue, but there at the Parks Trust, they've got nice big doors that we can open up and people can come in and out. We are limited to really, it will be, well, 30 people altogether, but then there's me, myself and my colleague May, and if we have anyone else with us, so it's really 27 people that can come.
Okay.
And because of the capacity and trying to keep some social distancing a bit, you know, with COVID, so 27 people can come, but people do need to book on Eventbrite. Normally I would love to say just come, but we really do need people to book on, really.
Absolutely, yeah.
But you know, if you think on the day, if you do think, oh, I would like to come to that, you can always get in contact with me, and if we've got some spare places, you can come along.
Okay. Yeah, I think I've booked mine. I did explain to you why, and I was explain, but I did book. So, which means if you're working full time and you can't make it face to face, please book online for the 7 to 8 p.m. section.
Yeah, essentially.
Yes.
So come along, and hopefully for Macmillan, this is just the start of the research and the start of working together, and hopefully carry on building and networking, because I think you know, I think from what I've heard, I think the fears, a lot of the fears are the same for everybody.
Yeah.
The scaredness, the fear, the embarrassment.
Yeah.
But there probably are differences culturally in, you know, I do think, my opinion as a white woman, I think maybe white communities perhaps are more open to talking about cancer more than perhaps black communities are. That's the message, that's what I'm seem to be hearing. And if you can't talk to your friends and family about cancer at all, that must be very hard to go and talk to a stranger. It must be very, very hard. Whereas if you can talk to your mum or your sister or your friend, and they can say, well, just go for a checkup, I'll come with you. It's a different feeling, isn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely. I think most people with my black community, like we said before, they don't have the confidence speaking with their family or friends. However, they prefer speaking to an outsider.
Yeah.
because then they feel it's more confidential. So this is where you come in, because they now know there's a support there, and it's reaching out to the people, it's convincing them to take this opportunity, it's convincing them to go out and get this help. I always feel like I almost cry. I'm almost teary right now, because this opportunity is here, this support is here. How do we make them come out? And that is why I'm trying my best to work with you all to make sure that we get this awareness out there. And it's not going to be easy, but we'll get there.
Okay.
I think one other thing to say is that in the Cancer Centre at Milton Keynes Hospital, the staff that work there are there because they really are passionate about looking after people with cancer. They really want to be there. They really want to be working in that field of healthcare. And you can feel that sense of passion when you go there. And there is a kind of family feel among the staff and the patients, because obviously they come on a regular basis and we get to know them. And you know, you're not going to come to the Cancer Centre and deal with staff who, you know, kind of don't really want to be there. We really want to be there and really want to look after people affected by cancer. So I hope that encourages people as well to come if they need to. Okay,
thank you so much. I'm so grateful for letting us know the environment is going to be friendly and the people will be friendly. That's all we need. And one other thing I know our people don't want to feel is being looked down upon, that you know, you're not enough, or you're not good enough for me to be taken care of. But you've made it clear now, you guys are friendly, you're there for everyone, and please please go out there. So we're still going to keep on talking. This is this is just the beginning. Like I'm working with Susan. Let's move on to the next stage of how to reach the community, how to go to them face to face, if possible, you know, go through different community groups and all that, you know, to get them engaged. So thank you so much for coming in today and speaking with us, Faye. I'm so grateful.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for asking me.
Thank you, Susan. And also we're working together. We'll continue working together. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So we're getting there. We'll continue. It's not going to be easy, Susan, but we will get there. Yeah, you are doing a very good job. I'm so grateful for communicating with me, and we will get there. Thank you, Bumi, so much for coming on board as usual. A great gentleman you are, with all these insightful questions and insightful questions. Very grateful. And Susan and Faye, it's been a pleasure having you here. Most of the questions we couldn't. Susan tried so much. She tried, but she said, no, I have to bring Faye in because I don't want to give you the wrong information. Thank you for pouring out, giving us this information, but we need to do more. We need to work harder to reach out to our people. So
to reach out,
all,
mobilize them, for them to at least
know. 2 weeks ago, someone just died here of cancer. Two people died of cancer. You know, and this is the problem. You know, I didn't know about it. Some people didn't know about it. They just mentioned went for a burial. But then the problem is, did that person have enough support that she needed? Did she go to the right place? Should she have lived longer if she had done the right thing? I don't have the answer. But the answer is right here in front of you through Fay Grech. And again, I'm just going to say this out in case you don't have time to read the message in here. The support center is, can you say that again, Faye? Can you tell us where your support center is again?
It's the Macmillan Wellbeing Lounge. Macmillan Wellbeing Lounge in the Cancer Centre at Milton Keynes Hospital. All people need to remember is the word Macmillan. If they come to Milton Keynes Hospital and they say Macmillan, someone will tell them where to go.
Absolutely. Just use the word Macmillan.
They say cancer.
Or cancer, of course,
right.
of course. But cancer or Macmillan, we're very, very well known at the hospital. So someone will tell them where to find us.
Okay.
So
that's a good one.
That's it in a nutshell. So I want to say thank you so much today, and we'll discuss again. Thank you all, and do have a lovely weekend. Thank you for joining today.
Bye. And you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.